Yeah, what's up, my fellow flyers? It's me again. I'm back for another tasteful show. I'm gonna try to keep it classy this time, but in this time, I'm gonna try to give you my history of how it all started as a flyer. And just gonna give you a rundown. I don't know how far I'm gonna go back. I mean, this rabbit hole of mine. I'm gonna try to give you as much information as I can, and keep it classy, keep it real, and give a shout out to some of the guys that are out there who helped me along the way, and I'm gonna give them a little shout out. Hopefully they enjoy it. If not, a little shout out never hurts anybody, you know what I mean? So I'll be your host here on FPV RAW. I'm Ruben Hadegi, the owner of SweepwingsRC. You could say that this is being sponsored by me. Yeah. I guess there's no outside sources on this. It's just strictly me. I'm just doing this for fun. And yeah, I guess this is my second episode number 2. The first one last time was kind of an intro. I wanted to get started. Kind of what I wanted to fill you guys in with, all the little stuff that I wanted to do, what's been boiling on the back burner and stuff like that. I wanted to tell you guys how it all started, and for me, well, I want to tell you how it all started for me. And I would like to also shout out to the FPV podcast, Y and Alvon. I would like to say thank you guys very much for having me on your guys' show. It means a lot to me, because the whole time I'm thinking I'm like just some dude in the garage making these wings that is slowly making their way, and for a little guy like me, I don't have a huge crew or nothing. It's just me. It's literally just me doing this, and for you guys to ask me out on this show, and for an invite, I was pretty happy. It's pretty cool. So with that, I want to say thank you guys very much. And you guys did say, anyone or the guys that have been on your show, go on and start your own show. But I've been thinking about this for a very long time, because I had all the gear here and I just didn't know how to do it. And what pushed me over the edge, believe it or not, what pushed me over the edge is Noriega has got a podcast, and DJ was an EFN. It's called Drink Champs. And I was listening to it today on the way home, and I ain't gonna lie, I just bumped the mic. I just bumped the mic. I couldn't help it. I'm getting into this. I listened to the podcast, and the stuff that they're talking about, and then you can listen to it, and it's the stuff that it motivates me as a new person, listening to their takes and how unprofessional they are, but still keeping it professional, because unprofessional means like they're just all open, how they're gonna do stuff. Like it's not, it's just people blurting out, stories from back in the day, but professional in terms of how they got it segmented in their show. So to me, that's fly. I like that. That's cool. I like that a lot. Because growing up, I loved Noriega, Capone Noriega, the War Report, the CNN Warriors. I loved listening to that stuff. That is like my back in the day. That's the stuff I like to listen to. That bumpity bump. Like, I love that shit. And now it's like EDM stuff. So I got my notes here. I want to make sure I want to stay on track. I didn't forget anyone. I wanted to kind of give you a rundown on my history and the stuff that motivates me as a listener, as a builder, as a manufacturer, as a flyer, hobbyist, you name it. I want to make sure I tell you guys everything, and just keep it real. I want to make sure that for you guys who are out there, who are still looking for what to do in terms of building and what crafts to use, just let me know. I'm curious. Go ahead and give me a shout out on my Instagram page. Mainly, if you guys listen to me, let me know how I'm doing. If I'm doing a horrible job, just let me know. Don't be shy. I'll take it into consideration and look at it. But if you're being a turd about it, I'll let you know. I'll put you on blast. No, I'm just kidding. I'll keep it real. I'll do my best to make sure the show's better. But I'm literally, just want to keep it extremely real on FPV RAW. Just that's all I want to do. And since a lot of people out there who are curious to how I got started as SweepwingsRC, as a flyer, as a manufacturer, I want to keep it real with you guys. So I do make products that do stand the tests of time. So you can beat them up, you can shred them, you can crack them in half. They're still going to come back for more, and they're going to be hungry, and they're actually going to fly a lot better. You know why? Because you got that fresh stank off them. You got that old ODB soul inside the system, inside your core of your frame, and it's going to fly even better. It's got that freaking Oscar the Grouch, dirty, raunchy, filthy animal up in your aircraft, and it's going to fly like a goddamn beast. I'm just saying that. And as a side note, I just want to say this. If I do use profanity, I would like to say I'm sorry if there's little ones listening. But yeah, this is more adult oriented show. So, if you catch me at a later show, if I do continue to do this, reference episode 1 and episode 2, or show 1 and show 2. I apologize. Like, I don't mean to blast the profanity, but I'm excited. This is me talking about stuff. And if the little ones listen, I do apologize. I don't like to, curse in front of the little ones, but, just as a side note, I'm just being real. But okay, let's get into it. Let's go into the history that got me started. And if you want to further find information about how I started, you can check out my YouTube page. I think the actual if you type in the J Clone in YouTube, you'll find me. But more likely, you can find me at Sweepwings FPV Wings or whatever. You'll find me. You might find my name, but I don't know how it works. I got to get that all squared away. I do need help in that realm of getting the YouTube all set up. So still, even though I have all those videos uploaded, but yeah, you check my progress. It's there. It's all there. It'll show you, when I started back in the day. So hopefully you guys can see what's going on and making sure I'm on track of my whole progress of stuff, because I get sidetracked. I ain't gonna lie. I get confused at times, only because I'm trying to make this this in one take, and if I forget something, don't hold it against me, because if you hold it against me, I'm gonna and then bring it to my attention, I'm gonna call you a turd. I'm gonna call you a turd, because I'm gonna be like, dude, what the fuck? Like, I ain't no celebrity or nothing. I'm just a dude on a microphone talking to you guys, giving you guys my history and my story. And if I'm a little off, don't crucify me on that shit. You know what I mean? So with that, here we go. Back in the day, it was a stormy night. The winds were blowing against the window pane, and it was a little bit of crackle. I think there was a crackling. There was a mouse that was trying to eat some cheese, and it just bypassed the mouse trap. But anyways, back in the day, when I first started, man, it was like I first got a Vapor, for my first aircraft, and the Vapor for me was a gift. It was by my mother and father-in-law, and they got it for a Christmas gift for me way back in the day. And I think it was like in 2010, 2009, around there. I don't really quite remember back in the day. And I didn't really have a hobby. I was with my wife. Well, she was my fiance back in the day, and they got me something like that. And I was curious. I was interested. It definitely caught my attention of something remote control flying in the air. It was interesting, and I found it very fascinating for me to operate this little craft indoors. And I didn't really know too much. I thought the RC realm was expensive, and for those of you who are out there who have a lot of history, that with the glow plugs and the gas and starting it up, I didn't know. I was out of the loop. I was into like cameras. I was like in 2007, 2008, I was into cameras, and in high school I was into cameras, and I didn't really know about RC stuff. I knew about RC cars, but not so much the RC airplanes. So I knew about it, but I wasn't in the loop, right? I didn't know how much it cost in prices. I didn't know the hobby shops that were in the area, because I was focused. I was focused on my girl, getting married, and babies and houses and all that stuff. Like, I was focused. And since I was situated, they got me this gift, and I was very curious to flying in the house. And when you're flying, you're learning, you crash and it breaks. And on the Vapor, what happens is that little damn shaft just snaps right off. Right on. There's the motor, and then there's a gear, and the flywheel on. Well, it's a small gear on the motor, and then it goes up into the bigger gear, and the shaft is connected, and it's got that little the prop with the little nose piece there. But what happens is I kept crashing, and I kept breaking off that nose piece, and it was just pissing me off. I didn't know where to go. I then found out a local hobby shop over here. It's RC Country. Over here in my area. It's located on Folsom Boulevard. I'm located in California, the beautiful California, where it's lovely all the time, except for right now, because it's freaking raining. But it was, it was down the ways, and I figured I'd go check it out and go buy repair parts. And so I bought, the new shafts and the new propellers if I need a new propeller, and then, just replacement stuff. And, it wasn't that bad. It was pretty reasonable. And so I repaired it and kept flying and kept flying and kept flying. And, I got a little bit better and got a little bit better. And then, I got the what was it called? It's the UMX Cub, the Piper Cub, that little yellow one. And I got that one. I got better and better. And it was an outside plane. You couldn't fly it in the wind, but you can kind of get going. And that little sucker that little sucker would fly away. And I wanted to check the range and see how far I would go and get higher and higher. And I would just do loops. And I got really familiar with it. And I was excited, but it was limited. It was very limited to how far you can fly it. It was fun though. I enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun controlling something that was, in all actuality, it was a toy. But I was controlling this small little toy, and it was fun for me. It was definitely getting the juices going in my brain of what's possible out there. And then my buddy comes over, my buddy Brad. He comes over. He's like, "Hey, I just got this thing. Come check it out." And he lived, a couple blocks away from me, him and his family. And he come over. He's a grown ass man. We're both two grown ass men. And he comes over with the toy. And I'm like, "All right, Coach, let's check this out. Let's see what kind of toy you got there." And it was an Air Hogs. Now get this, Air Hogs, back in the day. Back in 2010, man, I don't even remember. Back in the day, and it was the VTL, where the wings are straight, in horizontal position, and then you can flick it and it goes into the vertical position, and now it's a VTL. So after you take off from the ground, and it was very cheaply made, but it worked really good. So it just worked. And then you lift it up, and then when you're at a certain height, you can flick it into vertical or in horizontal mode, and it'll fly. And to me, that was the most goddamn freaking interesting thing in the world. My mind was blown. I didn't know what to do. So freaking fascinated by this. I said, God damn it, come here. Where did you get this? I got to find it. I got to find this goddamn toy because it is the coolest goddamn thing out there. And he said he got it at Walmart. And I was like, bullshit. I said, you didn't get it at Walmart. He said, yes, I did get it at Walmart. I said, oh, damn it. Well, we're going to go to Walmart. So I told my wife, I was like, look, honey, I'm going to go take out to Walmart. I'm going to buy a toy. And you better not yell at me, okay? Because I went, how crazy is that? Two grown-ass men going into Walmart buying a toy. Going in the toy aisle and buying an RC aircraft. And we bought a couple of them. I'm not going to lie. We did. And we were out in the field like a bunch of idiots back in the day. Two grown-ass men. We own our own houses. We had kids. We were married. Two grown-ass men out there out in the field flying these little air hogs. Believe it or not, I ain't gonna lie. The truth. The very, very next day, we lost them. No, I'm just kidding. Not yet. We didn't lose them yet. We had a lot of fun with them. A lot of fun building them and repairing them. They actually held up really well. And as an air hog, back in the day, like I wasn't familiar. I knew that, I was familiar with the Nerf and the materials and how soft it was, but I didn't realize it was that cheap. Like it was $20. And it was like on the clearance or whatever. It was dirt cheap. So that just that messed me up. That messed me up big time. So I was like, okay, I know how to fly the Vapor. I know how to fly the Cub. I think I'm pretty good. And then this air hog VTL comes along, and I'm like, oh, dude, I know I can fly this because I was flying the hell out of it. It was going so high up I couldn't see it anymore. I was getting control of it and floating it back down. A lot of fun. And then I said, okay, I think I'm ready for the next step. Let's go to the big boy toys. So we figure out that we go to the RC shop. RC shops, like they're a little bit more advanced for our skill. We were at the noob level. Well, we wouldn't say we were at the noob level, but we were pretty green. I ain't gonna lie, we were at greenhorn level, And those guys in the RC shop, they were like a pro. They were good. They knew how to build. They knew all that stuff. But we were excited. I was excited. I didn't know. Shoot, I didn't know it was that inexpensive. So what we do is we get, the next best thing where like the actual, not the long range. It was a lot further than what you buy at Toys R Us, and you go to RC shop and you buy, some next grade stuff. And that was sick. Like it was kind of fun. So, I done messed up. I got me a Spectrum DX6 back in the day. It was like, I think it was like $150 or something like that. It was pretty damn expensive. And I was like, all right, I need this DX6, and this is what's recommended. Okay, cool. Got that. And I said, what else can I buy with this? Like, what's the next step? What's the next step? And it was like, you can fly the Cub with it if you bind it. And I was like, okay, cool. Still had the Cub. And then I was walking, I saw this beast there. It was called the UMX Beast. And that little son of a bitch was calling me. It looked at me like it was, had a bunch of its homies just sitting there stacked up all together in the aisle. And I was like, damn. And I was like, hey, you want to fly me? And I was like, fuck, I guess. I'll see why not. Shit, I'll fly you. And then it was just sitting there staring at me. I was like, are you sure you ready for this? And I said, yeah, I'm ready for that. Hell yeah. What do I need? It said, go take me to the register and get me out of this. Blow me out of this joint. I said, shit. I said, I can do that. Let's do that. So he walked out with I don't even know what it was called back in the back then. I don't even know. You could probably still find it. It looked like it was a Harbor Freight special, but they sold it there. I think it was by Horizon Hobby. It was kind of a weird looking airplane. It was a pusher aircraft. It almost looked like a Skywalker, but a cheap version. And that's what he bought. And it was I think it was like $130 or whatever. But I bought the Beast, and it was I think it was like $169 back in the day. If you guys are familiar with the UMX Beast and all the other UMX S-Bach and the glider and all the Cub and back in the day, they're about $160. And so I bought that, and I bought a DX6, and I was like, shit, I spent a lot of money, and I buy some batteries. So I bought the batteries, I bought all that stuff, and you know, I thought I was some hot stuff, but you know, not being a total retard, I freaking realized that, hey, if I'm going to fly this stuff and crash it in the ground, I better wait until there's high grass. And so I did. Up in my field, there was a lot of high grass there. And I learned how to control the Beast. I went down many times. I rebuilt the Beast many times. But that was because I was taking off in the concrete and landing on the concrete, getting better and better. Then it was starting to ding it up, and because it has that cheap foam, that cheap ass foam that you know is on the aircrafts. But you know, flying in the field with the high grass was like the best thing I could have done. And when it was going in reverse, or when it was flying at me, so everything was reversed, that threw me off. But it got my brain going. Got my brain going, got my fingers, got the muscle memory, working. And once I was familiar with what I was doing as a new flyer, boy, that just opened up a whole lot of fun for me. I enjoyed it so damn much. I was out at that field like every weekend, every day, every weekend. And until I got better and better and better. And I met a lot of great guys that are out there. Some of them are still out there. A lot of guys are, you know, they're gone. They had families and they disappeared. They moved to different locations. But that location was so damn fun. We had a lot of history. I got pictures. I got videos. I'm still uploading videos from the location that I started in. Even now, when you see some of my 12S systems, my 12S Behemoth videos, like that's the same location when I first started back in the day. So it's got a lot of history for me. I'm very, very proud of that area. But learning to fly the Beast, learning to fly the Vapor, you know, transitioning to the Cub, to the VTL by air hogs, having that system, you know, those types of systems, you know, a slow flyer, a little bit more that's graded for the outdoors, one for, you know, vertical takeoff, and then, you know, vertical landing type stuff, you know, learning that stuff, and then transitioning to the Beast, where it's a 4 controlled system, where it's got elevator, rudder, aileron, and then throttle. So it's got four channels there, and then learning that stuff. And then transitioning into the stuff that I know now. So when I was doing that, I didn't really know too much. Like I had the EPP FPV wing. Now that's made by Hobby King. Now I'm not trying to push. that a lot of the products here. So I'm just giving you a rundown of what I've experienced. But the EPP FPV wing. I don't know if they still sell it. I'm pretty sure they do. But I had a lot of fun with that airplane. I also had, it was a 3D aircraft. It was made out of all EPP. A lot of fun. It was a 540. It was an Edge 540 slow flyer, I think. I made a video on it. It's on my YouTube channel. Set up and all that stuff, and was flying. A lot of fun. I do enjoy 3D flying. And then I transitioned to other aircrafts. Like the S-Bach. I still have the S-Bach. It's literally still in my garage. I'm looking back at it right now. Still there, up on the ceiling. I baby it. I'm not gonna lie, because I crashed it a couple times, but it's in still really good condition. Props a little bit off, but it still flies. But I enjoyed it. That's the stuff I progressed on. The Bixler, back before Flight Test, back before when they were even around, learning how to fly like the Strikers, building my own stuff, building my own wings and stuff like that. Like way before that, I had these other aircrafts, and the transition for me from regular standard aircraft to a flying wing was the Striker. And reason being, I realized that it was less control surfaces, less material, less probabilities to go wrong. Does that make sense? Less things to go wrong. And I started to understand wings a lot better. I still was very new. It was cool because of the Striker, you buy just a regular core, and then you throw your parts in there so you save some money. And when you just drop the parts in, CG is going to work. Like, you're good to go. Trim, and then you're set. And then that sparked the interest for me as a flyer. And when I was, learning this, I started to realize that there was a lot of options out there. And these options were different aircrafts. So when I was learning that stuff, that there's a lot of options out there, in terms of wings. From the Striker, I moved and then I went to the crash test hobby, because that's what I found when I was searching YouTube. Like, I didn't really know too much. I was still learning. And like, my history is with the crash test hobby Reaper. And I could not get it to fly. Like, I was looking at all the videos of it crashing, of it hitting a brick wall. And Crash Test Hobby is a wing. They're, in the United States, they're in the back, Midwest over there. They're pretty popular. There's real popular, really good wings, really good prices. The threads on RCgroups is really cool. Guys are really nice. But I figured I'd go out and get, a Reaper, and it was a good price, a very good price. So I, built it and I tried to fly it, and I couldn't fly it because I didn't realize that CG was an issue on a wing, and how touchy and how so touchy a CG is on a wing. And I was struggling. Like, I made a video, like, I need help. I don't know how to get the CG. And I was like, I followed the directions. I did the CG. Something wasn't right. And as I was building it, I realized that, I had to move the weight, the battery forward to the nose. And I couldn't do it because, I followed the directions, and the spars that were inside the wings blocked my path into pushing the motor, or not pushing the motor, but pushing the weight forward, because the spars are in there for structure to keep it rigid. And I couldn't push the battery up forward, and it was blocking me. So I was like, oh, I got to figure out another way to kind of put weight in there. And so I was building it, and then I finally got it down where it was locked in and set in right. And then I was like, okay, well, now I can fly it. And once I flew it, it was so easy. Like, once I dialed it in and got the CG just right, adjusted I patched up the holes with some expanded foam, and I moved everything forward. And I was like, wow, this is like night and day from what I was experiencing. A lot of fun. I was flying it with one hand. I was just amazed on how easy it was, from the stress it was causing me to, just shifting the weight forward. And it was a totally different plane. Like, it floated extremely well. It was lightweight. It flew very good. And I was impressed. So that just sparked a whole bunch of freaking more, all the juices were then flowing again in my brain. I had the juices. Somebody squeezed the juice. They wheezed the juice, and I was hooked. I said, "Holy crap! That's flying better than the regular airplane." And it was so smooth and agile and different. I then progressed into getting their bigger version, which was the Reaper XL, the deep. They called it the Deep Reaper XL, and I started that with the ambitions to fly a little bit further and setting up for long range, because by then I had mastered the Reaper and getting very comfortable with flying, and then kind of experimenting with putting a camera on it, and I couldn't put a camera on it. I had exceeded the weight for the aircraft, and it wouldn't fly correctly. I mean, I got it to fly, but it just wasn't reliable. Let's put it that way. But I know it's possible, but just for me, it wasn't working. So I was like, okay, well, let's see. If I get a bigger aircraft, I know I can, lock into CG and then build, put the batteries set up for weight, and then put the camera on and get it all dialed in. Like I knew I can, focus that much and get it set with the bigger aircraft. And I did. I had a lot of good flights. It's on my Tahoe trip. I was flying the Deep Reaper, and I did about 5 miles one way, a little bit over 5 miles. I went from freeway to freeway, a little over, like 10, 11 miles, round trip. And it wasn't bad. Like it did very good. But I did notice that with this aircraft, because I loaded it up with 10,000 milliamps, it flexed. Like it wasn't built to carry weight. Because of the system, the frame was so thin, like it couldn't hold the weight. It just kind of flopped. And so I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna enjoy my time with it, but know that I need to get something better, something that's been around, or something that can take the weight. And so I did my time with it. I did get it to tip stall. Flying at a really slow speed, and with how thin the airfoil was, I did get it to tip stall, flying real slow, and it scared the hell out of me. I was like, what the hell did it just do? So because it flew so slow and it was so overweighted with the weight, with 10,000 milliamp 3S, it tip stalled. And so I was like, oh, that ain't right. Even though I've had successful missions of it, or with it, that I've never flown it, slow, so slow where it tip stalled. So that was kind of like a bummer for me, and I realized, why it did that is because it just didn't have enough lift, and it was overweighted. So I was like, okay, I think I'm ready for another aircraft. So I sold that one, and then I stepped up to the big boy league, and I got a right wing Zephyr 2, and that's when the Zephyr 2 was kind of like out there as being like a molded aircraft. It was being, one of the best wings out there. And I flew the hell out of it. I had a lot of fun with it. But for me, as a kind of like a new flyer, I didn't really know like motor setups, what kind of motor prop combo that would work with the recommended system. And the recommended system, was very expensive, so I had to go with like a cheaper system, and there was, little information on it. And I overpropped it, and I burned the motor up, and I crashed the airplane, the Z2, and it dented it all up and looked like crap. And that was my fault. I overamped the system, and I should have I didn't know at the time, but I know now, is you put a separate BEC to power the RX. So if you do overload the motor, the ESC doesn't short out, and the little BEC inside the ESC doesn't brown out and drain all the power and kill your RX, causing you to crash. There's a lot of instances where you can brown out the RX with big servos. It can, drain the power. If it draws too many amps, it'll just kill the RX. But, I flew it. I crashed it. I couldn't get the wrinkles out, and it was foam. It was the Deep Reaper was EPP. The crash, actually, all the Crash Test Hobby wings were EPP. And the right wing was the Z2 was a made out of EPO, and Chris says it's EPO R, but it's essentially EPO, because the material, if you put any kind of chemical on it, it just eats it. So it's an EPO material, and the aircraft looked really sick. Like, it just looks dope. I'm not gonna lie, it's a very beautiful wing, but it has a tendency to have a very small success chance of when you launch it. So there's a certain way to launch it, but doing that, it's very limited to if you're going to have a successful launch. And to me, that was a bad deal, because I did some launches with it and I crashed. I tried to fly slow and I crashed. It tip stalled at very slow speeds. It's a very fast wing, and you need 6600 milliamp 4S to fly it. And that was kind of like the set. It was you can kind of combo it up, but that was the recommended setup. And so I was like, okay, well, it needs a lot of weight up on the nose to get it to fly, and it just couldn't fly slow. And it was made out of EPO, and it was $230 once you buy the laminate and the skids and all that stuff. It got to be expensive. So I was like, okay, well, I need to find another option, because I already then beat it up. So I found another company. It was called MW Cores, and that was through my searching. I found them on RCgroups, and I figured I had to give them a try. And they had a wing there. It was called a Black Knight, and the Black Knight was about 40. It was 49 inches. It was a little around 49 inches. And it flew very good. It was a sloper wing, not really intended for FPV, but I had this impression in my mind that I had, these other wings, the Z2, and I was ready to turn it into an FPV wing. I had a blunt nose section, which was good, which is what I wanted, but it was very thin. And as I was building it, I was very limited to space on the aircraft. So I was like, okay, well, how can I do this? How can I add space to the nose? And so I added the negatives to the mid section of the nose. And I was like, okay, well, I need to fit the 2200 milliamp batteries in there and a GoPro. And, the Z2 had the GoPro, and the Zephyr, or the Deep Reaper 2, or the Deep Reaper XL had the GoPro. So it's like, okay, well, how can I do this? How can I fit it in there? So I put the negatives on, I glued it, and then I shaved it down and sanded it, and I got the GoPro to set in there. And this was a core from MW Cores where it was for $30. You just get the cores. You don't get nothing else. You just get foam. So you build it, strictly all by yourself. You source out all the materials to complete the wing. And I built it. And I got it all set up. I got the CG right where it was recommended, and I flew it. And I had the video. And damn it, that thing flew amazing. Very, very well. It was a beautiful aircraft. And I was like, holy crap, how can I need another one. I need more. Like, I was hooked. And so I was like, okay, well, let's see what else you got. And I flew the hell out of it. I flew it all over the place. Made some good videos with it. But I needed more. And then I said, hey, what other sizes do you have available? And he's like, well, I got the Capture 60 and I got the Capture 80. And I was like, okay, well, bring them on down. I'll buy them. So he cut me them. They took about a month to kind of get to me. They take a while. I'm not going to lie. It took a while. And as a builder and as an anxious FPV person, pilot, operator, waiting was kind of a bummer. And that's like, for us now, even waiting for shipments from China, it takes a long time. So, waiting for this, I was like, damn it, I got to figure out how to do this. So, I was building the Capture 60, and I was like, okay, well, this is kind of like the Crash Test Hobby Deep Reaper XL. It was very thin. I was like, damn, I don't want to build it if it's that thin, because I'm going to have the same issues. If you overweight it, it's going to flop. And because it's so thin and the sparring, how it's set up, it's going to flop in the air and it's going to look kind of goofy. I was like, no, I can't do that. I can't. No, ain't going to happen. Don't want to do it. So I just got partially built with it, put it together, and then I just ended up selling it at a swap meet. But I built the Capture 80, and I used the 80. I built it, with the knowledge that I've gained over the years, and I flew it, and it flew very well. It flew very, very well. I did come in at a hot pass. I have that video on my YouTube channel. I was coming in a little deep, and you can tell that there was stress on the wings, and it just folded. So I was like, oh, damn, that ain't good. And then I started to realize that, placement of the spars is very key. And, putting, larger size spars in certain locations is very important, especially on the mid section. Very, very important. And so I took it home, I folded it it literally folded like a taco. I took it home, rebuilt it, pulled the laminate off. I learned how to build and fix it as I was going. So I added some arrow spars in there and made the belly a little bit stronger, and I gave it another chuck, and I flew it. And holy mackerel, it flew very good. And why it flew very good is because it was just a huge light wing, and it had tons of wing area. It didn't matter. It didn't really matter about lift at that point because the surface area covered a large spectrum. Like, it was just huge, a huge footprint. It was like a parachute, and it was light. So it flew very good. And I was just impressed. I was like, holy crap, this thing flies great. So I had FPV on there, Gopro. Well, the first one really wasn't FPV. It was just kind of like line of sight. But I was like, holy damn, this thing flies very freaking well. So I was very impressed. I was like, oh shit, how did I get this one? Like, this is amazing. So very impressed with that. Let me get a drink real quick. There we go. And I was hooked. I was hooked on the big wings. For the Black Knight, I wanted another one. I was like, okay. I messaged the guy, and there's no disrespect, but it did show me what I needed to do to kind of get my own stuff. So I was like, okay, well, kind of let's make a bigger one, bigger bay. Let's do it like this. Let's make it a little bit thicker. And so, it took a little bit of while, took a long time. And then finally time kept pressing on. I was like, okay, now what I need to do is make my own aircraft. Like, I need to source my own material, and then I can rely on myself. If things go bad, then I can rely on myself. So I did that. I sourced all the material. I got it all squared away. I figured out where I needed to go, and Flying Foam was around, and they still are, and they sell sheets. And so I was like, okay, well, I can get the sheets, and then order a couple pieces to practice and figure out where I want to put all the gear and do all this stuff. So I was like, okay, cool. Put in an order. And mind you, the EPP, the sheets that you get are very expensive. It's very, very expensive. And when you get the sheets, you got to make sure you put in detail of all the material you want to use, so you don't waste it, because it's expensive. You pay X amount of dollars for the material plus $30 of shipping. So you want to make sure you use it correctly. And so I got all my gear, I laid it down, my block, and then I put all my gear inside, and I drew around it. And I literally hand drew my airfoil of my new aircraft. And I used a lot of the information I had from the Reaper and the Deep Reaper and the Z2 and the Black Knight. And I was like, okay, well, this is the size I want to kind of base everything off of. And I figured out, my wing length and my overall wing length, and then I increased the wing tip, and then the main bay, I increased the main bay. I increased the airfoil, so I went from a very thin wing to a very, very thick wing, because I wanted to make sure I used all the material. And when I was doing that, I was like, okay, well, it was very thick. It was like 2 inches thick, or just below 2 inches thick, because I skimmed just the top. And, I carved it out, and I used a hot wire cutter, and I made sure everything worked. And I was pretty impressed with what I had. Now, it wasn't the final product, but as I was cutting, making something in my shop, it worked really good back in the day in 2013. And I decided to, slap it together, build it and use all the knowledge that I've gained over the years of YouTube and all that stuff. I decided to build it. And, I had a decent wing, and I was like, holy crap, I had a wing here. And when I was done, it looked pretty impressive. I was impressed. I had EPP elevons, and I had all the gear there, and it was all done. I was quite impressed because I used all the knowledge that I had from all the other manufacturers, and I designed something that I wanted, and it was everything that I wanted because it had the gear that I wanted to put in there, had the camera. I was able to hold the GoPro, and it all fit. So I made it, built it, and then constructed it and all that good stuff. And I took it out for a maiden. And that thing flew so damn well first try. I had some complications and was struggling with the other aircraft. So, with the Reaper, it was a couple tries, a couple tests. But for this one, this actual wing that I made, it flew first try. It was amazing. I used the CG calculator that's online, and I dialed it all in, and it worked. I was impressed. So I got that video up, showed what I had, and it was just, it was flawless. Like, I was like, oh, damn, like I got my cameras and my 4400 milliamp 3S, got my cheapo battery, cheapo ASC, got my GoPro in there, and it worked. I was impressed. And, from then on, it started. And so from then I was like, okay, well, I have it. And then I was at work. I was like, okay, I want to make a name for myself. I want to call them something. I want to make a name. And I was thinking of names, and I was like, okay, well, Sweep, thinking of different names I can use. But, so the sweep of the wing, gave me that transition of the wing from the tip back, like the sweep, from the nose to the wing tips. That's the sweep. That back, the more further back it goes is the sweep of the wings. I was like, okay, well, sweep wings, that's pretty basic, right? And nobody else had it. I was like, that's it. And then I just drew the logo up. And then since I drew the logo up, from then till now, it transitioned, and we kind of gave it a little bit more of an angle, and, we got the words and everything, and kind of gave it a little bit more of a reaching forward look to it. And, I got it all copyrighted, copywritten and all that stuff. And, it started, and now I have, a brand that is currently in existence now. So that's like kind of like the rundown of what I've learned and started, so small, so small. And I've developed something that I do enjoy flying right now. And learning the build videos and learning the other manufacturers and studying their build videos, mainly studying Right Wing's build videos. Chris Clicks his build videos, and back in the day, I found out TBRC Yuski, what up, dog? Studying his builds and how he did stuff back in the day, and Lee from Crash Test Hobby, studying why he does the things that he does in his videos, and kind of implementing that throughout my builds. So combining all these builders into one, and creating my own style, because it's all like knowledge. It's been done for years and years and years, and transitioning that into my build styles and my flying styles is stuff that I've learned from YouTube. So, with that, I wanted to kind of tell you guys, my history. It got a little deep, but it got pretty damn long. Shit, we're at 50 minutes. It's a long time for me to talk. I'm gonna need some water here pretty soon. But from that point on, from when I first started until now, starting something that didn't exist and making something that was for me personally, like me, only me. Like I didn't anticipate this to be big and to blow up to what it is now as a brand, as a type of wing, and I'll have all these other types of wings. Like I didn't anticipate that at all. It started with the Juggernaut, and then I started with the Flinch, and then it transitioned to the Behemoth and stuff like that. So the Behemoth is, the next size up. The Flinch is a little bit smaller. The Runt came down later, and the Dreadnought came down later, because I wanted to make all sizes that fit. Different flying styles, different categories, different applications, and so I wanted to make all these sizes. So when you see them online, it all started from back in the day, back in 2013, when I wanted to create my own wing. And so, like, I just wanted to tell you guys, my history of when I first started, and kind of give you a rundown. It may be boring as hell, but some people don't know. Some people are curious. If you guys are do-it-yourselfer type people, you're curious about that stuff, and I figure somebody might be interested in it. If not, just pass this episode on and just keep going. But I figure I would tell you guys I might as well put it out there. That way it is out there. So, I think I'm going to wrap it up right there and tell you guys that, I hope you guys enjoyed this long segment of me rambling off of my history. And, if it does, spark an interest, I would be very, very excited that if I do spark somebody's interest out there. It's very nice for me to hear those positive responses and stuff. That's just amazing to me. But I don't want to keep you guys any longer than I have already. But I just want to make sure you guys are listening, and if you guys are following me on Instagram or Facebook, YouTube, make sure you guys follow me. And keep track of my progress, and I will continue to feed you my knowledge that I've gained throughout the years, and I will tell you my thoughts and stuff like that. So without further ado, I would like to say thank you for listening on this FPV RAW, sponsored by me, SweepwingsRC, your host, Ruben Hadigi. And, I'll let you get on with your day. And with that, until next time, guys, peace.